because I see so many people saying, I want to homeschool, but I wish I could homeschool, but there's no way that I could homeschool even though I would love to. So here is a video. If you have not heard it before, I'm going to tell you a few of the reasons that you absolutely can. What's going on, friends? Welcome back to another video, or welcome if you have never seen me before. I'm Lauren, and I am a first/second year homeschooling mom and former elementary teacher. Today we're talking about getting over the hump of considering homeschool, or kind of kicking your spark back in if you are losing it. I know as the year gets to a close, or as summertime comes around, it's kind of hard to keep your momentum and your motivation to continue doing all the things that you've done over the school year. And I also have been thinking about offering some more encouragement or words of wisdom as a former teacher and current homeschooling mom to those of you who may be considering jumping into the homeschooling world in the upcoming year. I recently watched a video from Ashley at Grace and Grit, and I wanted to share with you guys her message as far as having your kids in school, in traditional school, and knowing what is happening in their curriculum, what they're reading, what they're exposed to, what they're talking about and discussing, and how that aligns with your parenting values, with your family's beliefs, and all of the things that are involved in that. She had a fabulous message and offered a few resources and some of her ideas and ways of speaking up and getting more involved and being truly immersed in what's happening in your children's lives if they do go to if they do go to traditional schools, or if they are taking part in curriculum that you really don't know exactly what that entails. So having been in the classroom and having to have a line between what you're expected to teach and what you personally believe in, that's a really difficult crossroad to be at. As a former traditional schooling educator, I know how difficult that is as a teacher to be in that boat and kind of have to mute your values and beliefs and things like that when you are discussing topics that are difficult to speak about without kind of having your emotions and personal values collide with the things that you're expected to just be teaching from a very foundational level. And I have that perspective from elementary school. So having been on that side of the tracks, so to say, and making the transition to homeschooling, I noticed that it's hard as a teacher and to put the responsibility on the teacher to make those decisions and to discuss different topics, because we're all different. We all have different beliefs. We have different backgrounds and upbringing. So to expect that the discussions are going to be the same every single time, or that they are going to share the same views that you and your family have and the path that you want to lead your children down, is almost impossible. So I do believe that by homeschooling and encouraging discussions and home learning and really implementing your values and getting to do that on a daily basis makes a huge difference. And that is yet another way that homeschool offers so much more than traditional school will ever be able to, mostly because you are the leader of the pack and you get to do that across the board, including what your children are learning about when it comes to our history and the ways in which we interact with and accept and love on other people. And I think it's very important to always be discussing those values and just really encouraging our children to make a difference, and don't be discouraged to have changes. Even though that our history is one way, does not mean that our future has to be the same. And that's something that I think that it's a big advantage that we get to constantly have those discussions and to allow our children to learn and be able to lead by example in a way that aligns with our values and just the ways that we want our children to grow and what they should be immersed in and who they should be around and all of those things. So I will definitely be sure to leave the link to Ashley's video down below if you want to go and check that out. I definitely encourage you to do that because it had my wheels spinning in ways that I didn't necessarily think about before, because I was in that teacher position in the classroom. I taught second grade and kindergarten, and so I was right there in those learning stages, and where it's important to build the foundation and to feel like I could not share some of my own beliefs, especially when it came to things like Black History Month and the curriculum that we were expected to be discussing and the stories that we were expected to be telling our children about the leaders of our country and ongoings in our country. It's a little discouraging. And personally, I didn't want my own child to be in the shoes that unfortunately my students were in. And it was hard as a teacher, and I didn't want to contribute to that responsibility in terms of putting my child in someone else's classroom and expecting them to either A, not share any of their personal beliefs and almost be like a robot, or B, share things that did not align with what I was teaching my child at home and further causing some confusion and that possibly set your children up to have like a gray area. And yes, it's important to instill values that will allow them to grow and form their own thoughts. But when they're young and impressionable, I think it's very important to build a sturdy, strong foundation in what they're going to be exposed to just in the world alone, especially with the internet being the way that it is, so that they can build their own ideas and form their own opinions that are aligned with being a good person when it really comes down to it, at the bare minimum, being a good person. So like I said, I'll leave Ashley's video down below, and then I did want to add just a little bit of my own thoughts into this, especially when it comes to if you're making the decision to homeschool or if you're kind of on the cusp, because I see so many people saying, I want to homeschool, but I wish I could homeschool, but there's no way that I could homeschool even though I would love to. So here is a video. If you have not heard it before, I'm going to tell you a few of the reasons that you absolutely can, and share with you a few of the ideas and hesitations that I had myself, and offer some resources and people to lean on along the way. My first little tidbit of advice is don't try to make your homeschool environment and experience someone else's. It's really hard to see what someone else is doing, even if it's the new Louis Vuitton bag that your friend posted on Facebook that her husband got her for Mother's Day. Just an example. It's hard to not consider ourselves in someone else's shoes. But when you do that, you're also taking the view off of what you have and the situation that you're in and your experience, and it won't be as fulfilling as it could be. So despite what you see someone else doing, don't think that you are having to meet those expectations or those standards, because your life isn't theirs, your children are not theirs, your homeschool experience will not be someone else's. It can only be yours. And as the leader of the pack, or the principal, the teacher, all of that jazz, you are going to get to choose how your children will best learn, will be able to be immersed in what they are learning about, and have different experiences that they may not be able to have in traditional school. So it's hard to, yes, pick and choose what you want to take from traditional school or other people's home learning experiences, but just to know that comparison is the thief of joy. You've probably heard that saying, but it's so true. Just because someone else is doing something doesn't mean that you either can't recreate it in a way that will be better for you, or that that will even be best for your specific situation. Okay, and now so many people are sharing their curriculum and resources that they'll be using for next year. Even though it's already May, I know that can be a little bit intimidating, and I've been very surprised to see that. Like on YouTube, a lot of people are sharing about their curriculum picks and books that they've already purchased for next year. And I've just been like, we're not even done with this year, so pump the brakes a little bit. But as someone who is new to like the education world or even the homeschooling world, I can definitely understand how that can seem very intimidating. So I want for you to really understand that you don't have to have thousands of dollars worth of purchased materials and resources for your kids. Get on Pinterest if you want to do like an activity or like recreate something. Get on Pinterest and type in the topic of what you're doing and the grade level, and millions of ideas will come up, and I guarantee you one of those is going to be exactly what you're looking for. Don't think that you have to go and buy exactly what your favorite YouTuber or favorite blogging mom purchased for their kids. Don't think that you have to buy Amazon boxes on orders and have all of this stuff rolling in to be prepared, because it will more than likely just overwhelm you. There's a difference between feeling prepared and like all the boxes are checked off and having like a surplus of stuff that's just going to kind of boggle what you really need to go for. So feeling like you are prepared, I would encourage that, but don't go crazy. If you start feeling like this is just too much stuff, then you're probably right. And I would say take it just one thing at a time. And if you do need some help in what one thing at a time looks like, and look for those answers from other people that you are watching on YouTube that you trust and like how they do things, and take just little tidbits from it. Or if you have a question, I am always more than happy to answer and help you any way that I can. So there are other mamas on here too that I know are in the same boat that will share their experiences with you and give you advice and all of that jazz. So don't be discouraged to reach out and ask a question, even if you think it's a silly question, because everyone started in the same position that you are at one time. So keep that in mind too. And then the last thing that I want to share is, if you do commit to a curriculum, if you say we're going all in, we bought all the stuff, we're ready to go, everything is prepped for next year already. Once you get into that, if you feel like that's not your jam and you are having a hard time keeping up with the requirements of the curriculum or how it's going, and your children are too, it's okay to tweak it. It is okay to adjust it as you need to. Don't feel like you are married to something just because you purchased it, because that will probably spoil your experience and leave a bad taste in your mouth if you try to push through something and you're just really not into it. And let's be honest, our kids can sense that from us too. So if we are struggling with it, it's only going to pass down into what their experience with a curriculum or resource or whatever it is as well. So don't be afraid to adjust if you feel like you need to. That's perfectly fine. Our kids learn from experiencing life. We teach them things every single day, every moment. We're reiterating and being involved in what they are learning about and how they're learning it in their day-to-day lives. So don't think that they're not going to know anything or it's all for naught, because I guarantee you they will be fine, and you will be fine too, and you are totally capable. When you start feeling overwhelmed, or if you start getting a little discouraged, even myself, I will share that this year, multiple times I have thought to myself, maybe my son would be better off just going to traditional school. And I was being really down on myself and being really negative, and all we needed to do was switch some things up. So I shared with you a few weeks back some of the things that you can do if you're, experiencing burnout, if you're losing motivation. And I took my own advice and we started mixing things up. We started getting outside a little bit more. We had some hands-on activities that I just made on Canva that were so much more enjoyable than what a workbook would have been able to offer. So I encourage you to go watch that video if you are feeling a little bit of burnout, or if you're worried about burning out, because that can be a perfectly fine fear to have. That's completely understandable. So my own experience, like I said, I switched some things up and we, tried some new stuff to kind of revamp and keep our motivation going. And I'll share one of our favorite YouTube channels, Scratch Garden, because they have some hilarious videos, some educational, some fun. They have like freeze dances on there, and What's the other one? The floor is lava and all kinds of fun stuff. But they also have learning videos as far as like the basic skills go. And we really enjoy sitting down to watch some of those. I use them as like reviews or kind of like our morning work video whenever I was teaching. And my son absolutely loves them too. So now he'll even ask to watch a Scratch Garden video. So I'll share that link to their YouTube channel down below as well. But all in all, really remember why you started homeschooling, why you want to homeschool, because your reason is always going to be the backbone of what keeps you motivated, what keeps your purpose and your end goal in mind. And know that your kids are going to absolutely love it regardless of what you do. And the fact that you are even considering teaching them at home shows how much you care about them. And even though it gets tough, what doesn't, there's also motivation here for you, and I hope that you find that. I hope that you are encouraged by this video, and I hope that I will see you in the next one.